Have you ever noticed that peculiar sensation when you begin to perceive the world differently from everyone around you? That moment when conversations at dinner tables suddenly seem like hollow rituals, when the goals and ambitions that drive your colleagues appear as strange choreographies devoid of meaning, when the very fabric of social reality begins to reveal itself as a construction, a game that everyone plays without questioning its rules. This is not madness. This is not alienation in the conventional sense. This is the first symptom of a spiritual awakening that has the curious property of making you invisible, even while standing in plain sight. The world operates according to certain frequencies of perception. Most human beings occupy a narrow band of these frequencies, tuned to the practical concerns of survival, social status, material acquisition, and the various distractions that keep the existential questions at bay. They move within these frequencies like fish in water, never questioning the medium that supports their existence because they have never known anything else. But something has happened to you, perhaps gradually, perhaps in a sudden flash of insight. You have begun to perceive different frequencies, different layers of reality that exist simultaneously with the consensus world. And this perception changes everything. Consider the metamorphosis of a butterfly. Within the caterpillar, there are specialized cells called imaginal cells that contain the blueprint of an entirely different being. At first, the caterpillar's immune system recognizes these cells as foreign, as threats, and attempts to destroy them. But the imaginal cells persist. They multiply. They connect with each other, forming clusters until they reach a critical mass, and the entire being begins to dissolve into a primordial soup from which the butterfly will emerge. Your expanded awareness is like these imaginal cells. The social organism around you senses that you are becoming something else, something that no longer fits the established patterns, and it responds with a kind of immune reaction. People become uncomfortable around you, not because of anything you say or do, but because your very presence has become a reminder of possibilities they are not ready to acknowledge. This creates a profound and often painful challenge. How do you navigate a world that increasingly appears to you as a kind of collective dream, a mutually reinforced illusion, while maintaining meaningful connections with people who remain fully identified with that dream? How do you speak a language of awakening to those who have no reference point for what you are experiencing? How do you translate between these different modes of perception without compromising the truth of your experience or alienating those you care about? This is the dilemma of the awakened individual in an unawakened society. The most immediate and noticeable consequence is a peculiar form of loneliness. You find yourself sitting in rooms full of people, participating in conversations, nodding and smiling at the appropriate moments, yet feeling as if you are observing it all from behind a transparent barrier. The words and concerns that occupy others seem increasingly trivial, disconnected from what you now recognize as essential. Yet you cannot simply dismiss these concerns or the people who hold them. They are not wrong for operating at the frequency they inhabit. They are exactly where they need to be in their own journey. The challenge is to honor their reality while remaining true to your own. What often happens in this situation is that you begin to develop a kind of dual consciousness, a capacity to operate within the conventional world while maintaining an awareness that extends far beyond it. You learn to translate between different levels of understanding, to communicate in ways that can be received by others without triggering their defenses, to plant seeds of expanded awareness without trying to force immediate growth. You become a bridge between worlds even if most people never realize that this is the role you are playing. I want to pause for a moment and ask you directly, when was the moment you realized you were growing in a way that people around you didn't understand? That instant when you felt you had crossed an invisible boundary, and suddenly the everyday conversations, the mundane concerns, the values that everyone takes for granted, began to seem like a theatrical play in which you could no longer participate with the same conviction. I know this experience can be profoundly lonely. You look at your friends, your family, your colleagues, and realize you're seeing layers of reality that they simply don't perceive. And the most difficult part isn't their incomprehension, but the silence you must maintain to avoid being judged, labeled, or worse yet, to prevent them from feeling inadequate or threatened by your transformation. I want you to know that your experience matters, that your journey, even when solitary, is creating ripples in the field of consciousness that affect everyone around you, even if in imperceptible ways. And that's why I'd like to invite you to share a fragment of your experience in the comments below. You can simply copy this phrase and complete it. I realized I was awakening when trust-tiar. By doing this, you not only validate your own experience, but you also extend a hand to someone else who might be watching this video feeling like they're the only one in the world going through this. Your comment might be exactly the confirmation someone needs to continue on their journey, to to know they're not going crazy, that they're not alone. This silent community of awakened people spread throughout the world strengthens every time we recognize each other, like distant lights in the darkness, which when seen together form a constellation of expanded consciousness. Now let's continue our exploration of what happens when you begin to grow beyond the limitations that once defined your reality. There is a paradox at the heart of this process that is essential to understand. The more you awaken to the larger reality, the more you may feel like a ghost moving through the conventional world. Yet simultaneously, you become more authentically present, more deeply engaged with the truth of each moment, each interaction, each person you encounter. This is because your awareness is no longer entirely captured by the surface level of experience, by the social masks and conditioned responses that constitute most human interactions. You begin to perceive the deeper currents moving beneath these surfaces, the authentic being that exists behind the persona, the unspoken fears and longings that motivate behavior. The great spiritual traditions have always recognized this paradox. The Taoist sage who appears as a fool to the conventional mind, the Zen master whose behavior seems incomprehensible to those operating from ordinary logic, the mystic whose direct experience of unity cannot be communicated in the language of separation. These are all expressions of the same fundamental reality, that to awaken is to step outside the consensus trance, and in doing so to become in some sense invisible to those still fully immersed in it. But here we encounter another paradox. This invisibility is not a diminishment, but an expansion. When you are no longer desperately seeking approval, validation, status within the social hierarchy, you become free to express a more authentic presence. When you are no longer entirely identified with your social role, your profession, your possessions, your opinions, you create space for something larger to manifest through you. In becoming less defined by the conventional categories, you become more uniquely yourself. This brings us to one of the most challenging aspects of the awakening process. As you become less attached to the conventional sources of identity and meaning, you may pass through periods of profound disorientation. The old structures of your life, the goals and beliefs that once provided direction and purpose begin to dissolve, but the new order has not yet fully emerged. This is a kind of death and rebirth, a transformation as fundamental as the caterpillar dissolving in the chrysalis. The caterpillar has no conception of what it means to be a butterfly. It cannot imagine flight while still bound to the earth. Similarly, your conditioned mind cannot fully comprehend the nature of what you are becoming. Many spiritual traditions describe this as a dark night of the soul, a period of emptiness and uncertainty that precedes a deeper integration. The key to navigating this phase is to recognize that the disorientation is not a sign that something is wrong, but that something is profoundly right. The old structures need to dissolve for the new to emerge. The discomfort you feel is not a punishment, but a purification. The sense of loss is not a diminishment, but an opening to something far greater than what came before. Another significant challenge in this process is the tendency to develop a kind of spiritual superiority, a subtle pride in being more awake, more aware, more evolved than others. This is a trap that almost everyone falls into at some point. The ego, that collection of self-images and defense mechanisms, does not simply disappear when awakening begins. Rather, it attempts to co-opt the awakening process, to turn it into a new form of identity, a special status that sets you apart from and above the unawakened masses. Beware of this tendency. The moment you begin to look down on others for their apparent lack of awareness is the moment you have fallen into a more subtle form of sleep. True awakening is not a state of superiority, but of greater humility, not of separation, but of deeper connection. The recognition of the essential unity underlying all apparent diversity leads naturally to compassion, to a genuine concern for the well-being of all beings, not as an abstract ideal but as a lived reality. The awakened perspective sees through the illusion of the separate self, without diminishing the unique expression that each being represents. It honors both the universal and the particular, both the eternal and the temporal. Here we come to a crucial insight for those walking this path. The purpose of awakening is not to escape the world, but to engage with it more fully, more authentically, more compassionately. It is not about transcending humanity, but about expressing its deepest potential. It is not about leaving others behind, but about helping to create conditions in which more beings can awaken to their true nature. The butterfly does not fly away in contempt for its caterpillar origins. It fulfills the purpose that was inherent in the caterpillar all along. Similarly, your expanded awareness does not set you apart from humanity but connects you more deeply to its essential nature. How then do we navigate this paradoxical position of being in the world but not entirely of it? Of seeing through the conventional structures while still having to operate within them? Of experiencing a reality that cannot be fully communicated to those who have not directly experienced it themselves? First, we must develop a profound patience, both with ourselves and with others. Awakening is not a single event but a process that unfolds over time, with periods of dramatic expansion and periods of integration, with insights and revelations as well as confusions and setbacks. No one is completely awake or completely asleep. We are all somewhere on a vast continuum, moving at our own pace according to our unique circumstances and capacities. Honoring this reality means releasing expectations, both for your own process and for others. It means trusting the intelligence of life itself, which knows exactly what experiences each being needs for their evolution. Second, we must cultivate the art of compassionate communication. This means developing the ability to meet people where they are, to speak in terms they can understand, to find the language that bridges different levels of awareness. It means recognizing that direct transmission of your understanding is often impossible, but that you can create conditions in which insights may arise organically in others. It means being willing to appear ordinary, even foolish, rather than creating resistance through an insistence on your own perspective. It means knowing when to speak and when silence is the greater wisdom. Third, we must find or create communities of shared understanding. While the awakening process is ultimately individual, there is immense value in connecting with others who have had similar experiences, who can reflect back to you the truth of what you are experiencing, who can help you distinguish between genuine insight and the subtle distortions of the ego. These communities need not be large or formal. Even one other person who truly sees you and understands what you are going through can make all the difference in sustaining your journey. Fourth, we must remain grounded in the body and in the practical realities of daily life. There is a tendency in spiritual awakening to become overly focused on the transcendent dimensions of experience, to devalue the physical, the emotional, the mundane aspects of existence. This creates an artificial split that ultimately limits the integration of your awakening. True awakening embraces all levels of reality, finding the sacred within the ordinary, the infinite within the finite, the timeless within time. Washing dishes, paying bills, feeling anger or desire. All of these are as much a part of the path as meditation or mystical experience. Fifth, we must develop discernment about when and how to share our deeper perceptions. Not everyone wants or is ready to have their reality challenged. Not every situation calls for the expression of your most profound understanding. Learning to read the receptivity of others, to sense what will serve in each unique context, is an essential skill for the awakened individual. Sometimes the most awakened action is to simply listen, to be fully present without imposing your perspective, to create a space in which others can discover their own truth. The social invisibility that often accompanies awakening is not a punishment, but a protection. It creates a space of freedom in which your transformation can unfold without constant challenges from a world that may not understand or welcome what you are becoming. It allows you to develop and integrate your new perceptions before having to defend or explain them. It gives you time to find the language, the examples, the approaches that can effectively communicate across different levels of awareness. And perhaps most importantly, it teaches you to find validation from within rather than relying on external approval. There comes a point in the awakening process where the apparent opposition between being true to your expanded awareness and maintaining connection with others begins to dissolve. You discover that the deepest truth of your being is not separate from the deepest truth in others, even if they are not consciously aware of it. You find that by honoring your authentic perception while simultaneously honoring the journey of others exactly as it is, a new kind of relationship becomes possible. One based not on shared beliefs or common interests, but on a recognition of the sacred nature of consciousness itself, manifesting uniquely through each being. This is not an easy resolution to reach or to maintain. It requires a continuous balancing, a dance between different modes of perception, a willingness to be fully present in the conventional world, even while seeing through its limitations. It requires a heart big enough to hold the tension between what is and what could be without collapsing into either cynicism or naive idealism. It requires the courage to stand alone when necessary, and the wisdom to blend in when that serves the greater good. But it is a resolution that becomes increasingly natural as your awakening deepens and matures. Trust the process, trust your growth, and trust that life, in its infinite intelligence, is guiding you exactly where you need to go. The social ghost phase is temporary, a transition between ways of being. What emerges on the other side is a more integrated presence, one that can move fluidly between different levels of reality, that can speak different languages of consciousness, that can create bridges where previously there were only barriers. The loneliness of the awakening journey gives way to a deeper communion, not only with other awakened humans but with all of life, with existence itself in all its myriad expressions. If these reflections on spiritual awakening and solitary growth touched something within you, know that you are not alone on this journey. This path of consciousness expansion can seem isolating when those around you don't understand the transformations you're experiencing. It's precisely for this reason that we've created this safe space, this refuge for seekers like you. By subscribing to the channel, you become part of a silent community of people who, like you, are navigating between two worlds, the conventional and the expansive. Each new video we share is like a beacon in the fog, illuminating a bit more of the path ahead, offering new perspectives on how to integrate your mystical experiences into everyday life without losing your authenticity. We're not here to offer easy answers or empty promises of instant enlightenment. We're here to walk together, to explore the mysteries of consciousness with honesty and depth, to validate your experience when the world around you cannot understand it. If you feel you're growing in ways that others around you are not, if you perceive realities that go unnoticed by most, this channel is your sanctuary. Subscribe and allow yourself to be nourished by reflections that recognize both the beauty and the challenge of your awakening. Together, we form an invisible web of expanding consciousnesses, each at our own pace, but connected by authentic seeking. A simple click on the subscription button is a silent whisper that says, I too am on this path, I too am awakening. And that, in a world that often makes us feel alienated in our own expanded perception, is an invaluable treasure.